is going to be crowned your WOR Season 10 champion.
And history's been made. Ballina, the first WOR PS4 champion. What a championship! What a season! Absolutely phenomenal!
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to World Online Racing for the first race in this season on the PlayStation console, the first on F1 2021 for the PlayStation. My name is Luke Etheridge. Alongside me in the commentary box for tonight and the rest of the season is Sam Thompson. Sam, how are you doing?
Good evening, Luke. Good evening, everyone. And I'm doing absolutely fine. I cannot wait for this, of course. The first league race of the season for WOR on the PlayStation tier. And we've got some very good names indeed. Some returning, some new names as well. Some new faces who we've never seen. And of course, we are likely, or we're almost certain, to get a new champion this season as well. As of course, VSR Xander, as he's now known, of course, VRT Ballina back then. He has not returned for the season, which isn't a bad thing because we've got a lot of speculation and a lot of drivers who can take his crown and run away with it.
Yeah, and some of those drivers who might be in contention for the F1 and the F2 title as well. We do have a bit of a mixed grid tonight. We'll be hoping to prove themselves around Spain and then obviously proving themselves across the entire calendar, which is on screen right now. 14 weeks starting on the consoles, week starting August the 30th. So for the people on the PlayStation, I believe that is 3rd of September, finishing on December the 17th at Brazil. So quite a long calendar and some good tracks on there as well, especially towards the end of the season. It'll be interesting to see how the 3 new circuits to the Codemasters F1 games, Imola, Portimao, and of course the Jeddah Street Circuit. Be interesting to see how the drivers cope with that.
Yeah, well, obviously at the moment it's a bit of a gamble, isn't it? Of course, putting these tracks on the calendar, of course, but we remain hopeful. Fingers crossed we get all those tracks sorted by that time. But obviously there's been a lot of trouble in the last few days, hasn't there, to do with the game. But we're not going to worry about that because we're going to focus on the league racing, because the league racing is what we all want to see and we all love it. And let's embrace the best of it tonight. But yeah, back to the tracks, of course. You know, it's a big gamble to see if we actually get to them come November the 22nd, which would be for us, I think, the 25th of November. So that would be Portugal. So we remain hopeful that we get those tracks, but that is going to be a very interesting one because obviously they're new tracks. People haven't driven them before, particularly obviously for the top tier where no assists are allowed. WOR, I believe, is the only league really any of these will have with the new tracks. So definitely a new learning experience for all the drivers.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they cope with that, and they might not get much chance to practice either, given whenever the tracks do come out. But tonight it is a circuit, as you can see from the thumbnail, that isn't on the calendar, and a circuit that these drivers and the real life F1 drivers have put in thousands and thousands and thousands of laps on. It is the Circuit de Catalunya, just outside of Barcelona. Quite a challenging track on the tyres, this one. You do sometimes see a few mistakes. And of course, this is the 2020 layout of the circuit, not the 2021 one, which for tyre wear might be slightly nicer and a bit nicer for overtaking as well. You still have that sharp turn 10 rather than the long sweeper.
Yeah, it's probably much better for the drivers. So you obviously know that very well. Obviously, then they've got that turn 11, which can be a tricky corner as well. A little bump on the top there can lose the rear end. But a lot of these drivers are talented enough. They've been on the game long enough. They probably played the track enough now to know where the points are, where the car isn't good, where it is good. They may have practiced for tonight. Some may have not, since this is of course, a social race. It's meant to be basically a pre-season for the season ahead. Obviously, get started next week in Bahrain. So don't expect, obviously, the real sweating to come in yet from these drivers in terms of performances. Yeah, we can have a really mixed up result, but again, it is obviously a good opportunity for all these drivers to put themselves on the map to see where they could be this season.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, we will see some good performances. I definitely think we're going to. Definitely think there is going to be some decent drivers tonight, and hopefully across the season as well. Let's head to the circuit. No one really rushing to come out of the pit lane then in the first 40 seconds of the session. Pretty standard format that you'll have seen in WOR before, and you'll see in all leagues across the season on F1 2021. 18 minutes qualifying, and then a 50% race. And we have just got one of the Red Bulls heading out on track. That is Possessing. He's just coming out, and I think there's another car there as well. Shazoo Simon, one of the first to head out on the circuit.
Yeah, and obviously Shazoo Simon in the top league, I believe. He'll be looking to have a good start to his season, of course, being in the top flight. But a lot of these drivers who are in the top flight aren't racing tonight. We've got some guys who perhaps could be looking at a potential title hunt, like CRG Gamer, Kryptonite potentially as well, OP Nico. A lot of the OP guys are quite quick. And Mode Stroll seems quite quick on this game as well. So a lot of those guys we aren't likely to see tonight, of course. But it's a good chance for Simon, who is a very quick driver. Don't get me wrong, to give it a good go tonight and get himself a good momentum start, because momentum is going to be key. Wizard X as well is going to be one to watch out for. Many of you may know him as Lars Kramer. Definitely a driver to watch out for the season as well. So at the moment, we'll just have to wait and see till the first laps come in, because I just don't know who could take pole. There's a lot of names that are new to me, and I think they'll be new to you as well, Luke. But we'll just have to wait and see, and we could be blown away by some of these people.
Yeah, let's see what Simon can do then. Reserving in F1, he's wanting to show why he might deserve the chance of a full-time seat if it comes in. Braking hard over that curb into turn 1 and turn 2. We've seen so many drivers being caught out by that entry into turn 1, and then the long sweeping right-hander at turn number 3. Front left tyre crying enough, and it doesn't get a rest as you come to the end of the first sector either. A 21.3 for Simon through there, just running a touch wide perhaps through turn number 4 down the hill into turn 5. Looking nice and clean so far. This looks like it could be a pretty decent banker lap through a sweeper of 6, 7 and 8. This tricky almost chicane here that can trick the drivers out. And then turn number 9. Not got the confidence yet to perhaps go flat out at that point of the circuit. It's definitely been possible previously. He chooses to go down a gear, and then this sharp turn 10 at the end of the DRS zone. That tricky little corner at turn 11 and 12 that Sam mentioned earlier on, and then this long right-hander for turn number 13, coming down the hill into this final sector, this fiddly final sector that just sort of ruins the momentum of the drivers, as actually Simon's teammate Nick was off the circuit there. Hopefully he'll be able to continue, and we'll see what time it is going to be for Simon. A 1:15.071. Now, we're in a pre-season race. The drivers are just wanting a nice easy time. What is the one thing you don't want to happen in a pre-season race?
Well, one thing we don't want to happen is what Res Liam has done, which is spin almost into the wall. And I've just noticed that the two top times are the exact same. The two first drivers actually to finish on after the exact same. But what we want to see here is we don't want to see any people being dirty, of course. That is one thing we don't want. Although, okay, Liam, I don't know what's going on with him, but anyway, what you do not want is you don't want people to be dirty for the first thing, because although it is a social race, although it is a pre-season race, it's a good way to make a first impression, particularly to the admins, because there is a chance, of course, if you do feel like you've been put in the wrong tier, for example, you can be moved up to the top tier, and this is a way that you can possibly, obviously, show the admins and the people who have made the tiers that you can deserve a move up. So, although it is a social race, we do expect a lot of competitive racing and people to give it their all at all times, and of course for everyone to be clean. So, hopefully we don't see any dirty racing, or of course people just being idiots around the track. Just some fun, clean racing tonight, and some good action for us to cover, and a good preview for the season ahead.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing that might stir things up, though, and might make it a bit more difficult, we are believing that there is actually going to be some rain in the race. And don't really see too much rain at the Spanish Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher comes to mind 25 years ago, claiming his first victory in a Ferrari, so that could definitely spice things up and make the strategy a bit more interesting in the race. Bruno there in the Alpine, taking after his, favourite F1 driver margin in Fernando Alonso, judging by the name and the car choice. 1:16.081, not too shabby of a lap whatsoever to say he was on a set of the mediums.
Very quick lap there from Bruno for the mediums lap, of course. Expect him to be up there near the front guys, of course, on his first soft lap. Whether he'll actually go for that, of course, because he's obviously used his mediums now. As you said, the tyre degradation, you wouldn't really want to use the mediums in this session and save them for the race. So, interested there from Bruno there early on, but I guess it's a good pace comparison for him because he knows now what he can set on the mediums and he can go out on the softs with confidence that he can set a lap time competitive with the guys near the front. So, yeah, on the mediums, he's wasted those tyres, but he won't fuss too much. Even if he did start at the sauce, because he knows where he can get to.
Yeah, definitely. At the moment, though, it's pretty interesting top three drivers. We've got Miltos in first, Massina in second, Lynx in third. Massina, the only F1 driver out of those three. Miltos and Lynx are in F2. They are driving perhaps slightly different cars to what you might see them do throughout the entire season, just because of the fact that it is a mixed grid, although for those three, they are all in the cars that they will be driving in. Let's just go through some of the lineups then that might catch our eye throughout the season from those that are in F1 and in F2. Looking at F1, I'd say AlphaTauri, Gamer and Kryptonite looking very strong. Possibly the Williams as well with Wizard and Suku.
Yeah, I think obviously the two CRG boys in Gamer and Kryptonite, they're gonna be one of the favourites to win it. Of course, they've got a great sort of relationship with each other, of course, being friends and of course being a part of Comrade Gaming together. So of course that sort of lineup will be close. Obviously Brock and Andreas show a similar sort of bond, both being in the Ecos, of course. So there's going to be some good lineups there, and obviously Wizard or Lars and Suku, two drivers that have been rather sort of on the edge of being some of the top drivers on the game, if not some of the top drivers on the game, of course. And those two can obviously bring up a really good fight in the championship, but we'll just have to wait and see who can really come out. Of course, another one as well is the two OP guys, I think, Tomasetto Elia and OP Nico. I believe Tomasetto is in OP as well, just doesn't run the tag in his name. So yeah, there's a lot of people there who know each other very well, very good teammates together, so a lot of bonding will be going on. And a lot of the teammates will be able to compete against each other as well, and work with each other. So I'm very intrigued to see how the season goes, and there's a lot of good lineups there that can really give us some really good battles, not only in the drivers but the constructors championship as well.
Yeah, Brock sort of proving your point that he could be one of the drivers to look out for. He's got into third place at the moment. Most of the drivers have set at a time. It's just Lars and Chazza that are the two that are yet to do so at the moment, and we're on board with the man who's in the Haas tonight. This season, though, he will be a full-time driver for the McLaren team. He's just borrowing that seat for now. Nice and clean through 7 and 8. This circuit, Spain, traditionally in Formula 1, it is known as a difficult circuit to overtake, and barring turn 1, it's no different on the game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's been a bit of controversy, hasn't there, like about the turn 1 of this track. Of course, the bump going into it can really cost you your lap, and in fact ruin your lap as well. I've seen obviously on Twitter a couple of guys spin, so some people have had to adapt to that, but luckily we haven't seen that trouble so far. And you know, and as he invalidates at the last corner, track limits, they are not nice around this track either. At certain points, there are certain points which can catch you out very easily, so it's a tricky little track is Spain, and it's a track that a lot of people do find a bit frustrating. Particularly obviously with the tyre wear, the circuit has been quite boring, and of course, you know, everybody knows it from real life not to be exactly a spectacular event, so perhaps that has some sort of like disadvantage, I guess, for people. And you know, there's people who have been saying they really would like that chicane to go and it just to be a sweeping right-hander there instead like it was before. So this isn't exactly everyone's favourite sort of track, and I think that will test these guys as Lars, or Wizard, goes top of the standards overall. He finally sets his lap time, so only Chaz had to set a lap time, and yeah, we'll just have to wait and see because it's still early days in this qualifying. There's still a lot of time to go, and obviously a lot of drivers still to probably put in their competitive lap times.
Yeah, I think Jensen's just managed to get himself up into third position, so IFR putting some good times in, although it is the academy driver who's actually beating one of the main team drivers at the moment, maybe sending a bit of a message to those in charge of that particular team. Oh, big shunt from Nick coming out of turn 2, just too heavy on the throttle. We see that happen a lot on this game with the slightly different handling of these cars. Too much right foot straight into the barrier, and 8th is going to be the best he can do.
Yeah, and the Ferrari almost did the same thing. I was watching VER Jake because I was wanting to see how that incident played out, and he almost did the exact same thing out of turn 2, very slidey. He was able to catch it though in the Ferrari, unlike that AlphaTauri, and for Lucan, that's him out of the session until obviously the race. So 8th is the best he can get, but I do guarantee there'll be drivers who will be setting quicker laps in this lobby. It's Jake. Looking on the onboard, he's all over the shot with the rear end, and perhaps he's just over pushing that car a bit too much, and it's compromising his lap time big time. So at the moment, the track conditions in terms of the heat that the tyres are getting, not that good for many of these drivers.
Yeah, Jake's struggling quite a lot there. He was 1.2 seconds down on his personal best. Lynx is another driver who seems to be just having a few issues on this lap as well. He's 7/10 down. See if he can improve. Well, I doubt we're going to see many improvements from him. Let's see who else is on the lap at the moment. Liam is slowing right down, so I think he's had an off as well. And looking at that, yeah, he's lost his front wing.
Yeah, I was looking through that corner, and he came through the corner. He looked quite neat through there. It looked actually all right. It was just on the exit. He just lost the rear end, and it was straight into the wall for him. And fortunately, he isn't out of the race. It was a hell of an impact into that wall. So quite fortunate indeed. Not to be out of this qualifying. He can go in and get that front wing fixed, but I'm not too sure how much time he will actually have to get out again, because I believe, I'm not entirely sure, don't quote me on this, but I believe it actually does take time for them to replace your wing. I don't think it's the case though, but he will be able to possibly get back out again and set one more lap, but it's not the first time Liam has made a spin already today, so perhaps feeling a little bit of pressure is at Alfa Romeo at the moment, or perhaps he just doesn't enjoy this track too much.
Yeah, if you're struggling in the dry conditions, it does make you worry if we do get rain later on in this race, perhaps, as we've got another yellow flag, and that is a Red Bull that has gone off, I believe. I'm not quite sure which one that is. I think they might have got themselves moving again, just travelling a bit slowly at the moment. 5 minutes 10 remaining, still Wizard fastest, Melitos in second, Massina third, then Janssen and Passassi. Shazza now going for another lap. You don't really want to be in this situation where you're leaving it right until the last minute to set a lap time, because you've got no choice but to push. But as we've seen around here, it's very easy to make a mistake, crash out, or just invalidate your lap time. I think Simon, he is now retired from the session.
Yeah, it's out the final corner. This is going to be interesting to see. Hopefully his car doesn't despawn, like from O'Brock's view, and well, I have no clue what's happened there to him. Somehow he's lost his right tire, left tire there. Left wheel. I'm not sure how he's done that, because that's just bizarre, because that would be his outside from the wall. So it's not like he's hit the wall, surely. That's bizarre. I don't know. Maybe he's at the inside wall and it's decided to respawn him outside of the pit lane, perhaps. But yeah, if that's the case, a little embarrassing from Simon, but obviously a typical mistake for drivers that drivers tend to make. And well, both AlphaTauris won't be improving for this session. Now they'll have to settle with what they've got, and of course have the threat of everyone else who's still probably going to be setting one more lap to overtake them. So no more pushing now for the AlphaTauri team. It's all about the race.
Yeah, and if he has got it wrong on the way into the pit lane, that can happen to the most experienced of us. Just ask Kimi Raikkonen, who managed to find the wall in practice today. Struduzzi then, the Williams driver in the F2 tier. Let's see what he can do at this moment in time. Currently in 30, big moment through 7 and 8, and that is just enough to invalidate your lap. That's always been one traditionally. If I would say the corner on this track, you've got to watch out for 7 and 8. You hit the curbs too hard through there, they are absolutely lethal.
Yeah, there's a lot of curbs are lethal. The one he's coming up to just went past and everything. You cannot go full. Well, I can't go full throttle on that, but You know, I'm not like some of these drivers. Some of these drivers are probably much quicker, much more confident through the corners. But simply through a lot of these corners, they're quite deadly, as you said. And they're very easy to get a spin on, or some people say they're RNG curbs, and I still don't really understand the craze of using that word. I'm guessing it's like random or something, isn't it? Like it's a random sort of generated sort of thing. But yeah, he will go again though. Will Stroh? He has enough time to go again, fortunately. But with the tyre degradation of this track, he would not really fancy wanting to be in the top 10 because that could be a bit interesting for his strategy in this race. But then again, says there's rain in the race. We're not entirely sure where we're going to get rain, whether it's at the start, middle, or the end. But if we've got a little bit of rain in the middle, for say, it could be a bit of a breaker there for Stroh.
Yeah, interestingly, as we just look at the best tyres, the tyres that the drivers have set their best times on, that is, you can see there, Luke and Nick, he set his on 2-lap-old soft tyres, as has Massina, so it suggests on fresher tyres, they might be able to put a bit of a better run in, as Straduzzi is doing right now on his 2-lap-old soft tyres. Only needs to find a 10th of a second, and he's invalidated his lap. That is going to be qualifying over for the Williams driver. He's not going to have enough fuel to get around again, and he's not going to have enough time to set another lap. Yellow flags, I think, for drivers just slowing down, just trying to get out of the way of others, trying to find themselves a bit of space. It's looking very cramped in that final sector, and this could be pretty difficult for Liam to get a clean run here.
Yeah, and he hasn't had a clean run really so far. He's been spinning a lot, like we've already mentioned, and you know this looks like it could be a really good lap for him, this lap. So fortunately, it looks like the traffic has got out the way, and he hasn't had much problem with it. And obviously, I don't think he'll have too much trouble with his teammate, I think, up ahead. So fortunately for Liam, he didn't have much troubles. But what lap is it going to be? He has moved up by 4 tenths, but it hasn't really made too much difference to where he has. In fact, he's not moved up a single position. But it has closed him up to the field. So he does improve. I'm not too sure whether he will go again because he's almost out of VRS. So for Liam, that probably is qualifying over now.
Yeah, I think it will be for him now. We'll see who else is coming towards the end of their hot lap. Wizard not able to improve that time around. Oh, Melitos has had a big moment in the Aston Martin. We were talking about that turn 7 and 8. Lost it on the way into 7. Tried to save it, but as you see, it happens so often with these Pirelli tyres. Once you try and save it, the car ends up just snapping in the opposite direction, and he's not able to recover that car. So a big shame for him. Passassin, he's coming through the final couple of corners now. We'll be seeing the checkered flag very shortly, as Simon said he's done something stupid in the chat. I imagine he's not too proud of himself for crashing what looks like on the way to the pit lane. Passassin does improve time-wise, but can only stay in 5th position. We've got Robo Jobo coming towards the finish line now. He stays in 18th. Checkered flag is out. Jensen goes fastest of everyone on a 1:14.397, as it looks like Brock has lost it coming out of turn 9.
Yeah, Lynx is just about to finish his lap. It does look like Brock could have been on for a lap. He could have potentially been on for pole position. So unfortunate for him, he's not been able to completely go for it. Of course, losing out of turn 9, there's a Ferrari there as well, which would be a big, sorry if I pronounced it so wrong, but Trez or something. But anyway, his teammate in the Ferrari is coming towards the end of his lap now. There was a Haas coming across the line. I think that was Chazza. He's gone up to P8, and I don't think, by looking at what Jake has just done, it doesn't look like he was going to improve anyway. But yeah, he's out of the session. He's in P13. That's where we'll be starting, and that pretty much is the grid, unless Messina or Passassin could do anything.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if any of them can. I doubt Messina will be going for anything more, and Passassin looks like he's just taking his way back to the pit lane. So it is going to be IFR Jensen fastest in this social race in the Alpine. Very good performance from him. Messina in 2nd, Wizard in 3rd, and Melitos for top tier 2 driver at the moment in 4th position. Still quite a close grid, especially in that midfield section. You've got 6 cars, yes, on a 1:15.0, and then Rudy not too far behind on a 1:15.1, and I believe there was another driver, didn't quite get to see who, on a 1:15.1 as well. So that midfield going to be very close indeed. But let's take a look at the times then for this session. Jensen was the fastest. Messina starts alongside him, just 27 thousandths of a second slower. Wizard in 3rd, Melitos and Passassin, rounding out the top 5. Brock, Lynx, Chazza, Bruno and Luke and Nick, despite that crash, just managing to sneak inside of a top 10. His teammate didn't, and that might be a bit of a blessing in disguise. He's going to get a free choice of tyres. That could really be crucial normally around here, especially as we are expecting some rain. Berger is 12th, Jake in 13th, Rudy 14th, Struduzzi 15th, Line Violet is 16th, Liamo is 17th, Cohen 18th, and Robo Jobo the 19th and final runner. It all looks like we're in for a pretty decent race, and it looks like it could be one of those where this circuit seems to be a bit difficult for some of the drivers to get around cleanly.
Yeah, it does seem like it's going to be a very tricky race indeed. And, you know, if we do have rain at the start, which is suggested by everyone in qualifying going and starting on the soft tyres, it does suggest rain. We've just about seen now once the loading is finally complete. And yeah, we will be starting in wet conditions. So obviously everyone was going to go on the soft tyres. That makes complete sense now why they did. So we're going to be starting on the wet. So those who wanted to do a reverse strategy outside the top 10, it would have not been capable. So starting on the intermediates, it looks like we're going to be. So it's going to be a very, very interesting race ahead, I do have to say. And, you know, with drivers making a lot of mistakes in qualifying, a lot of spins, a lot of front wings lost and everything, it could be also quite a chaotic one.
Yeah, it could be indeed. See if any of the drivers have got wet setups for this circuit, or, well, we'll see what setups they've gone for in qualifying, of course. You're only allowed to change front wings, tyre pressures, and differentials after you've gone out for your first lap in qualifying after the parc fermé conditions. So this is going to be interesting to see what drivers have maybe compromised their qualifying setup for a good race, or perhaps vice versa, compromise their race setup for good qualifying. But you doubt there'd be too many that would do that. But who is going to conquer this very wet Circuit de Catalunya then? 4.655 kilometres, 2.892 miles, 16 corners then, and 2 DRS zones that they normally get a chance to do in the dry. In the wet, it is all going to be about just staying off the curbs and not getting yourself in any trouble. No surprises to see there that everyone has gone for a set of the intermediates.
No surprise, of course. I would be very surprised if someone went for the wets, of course. I would like to see, I'm going to be honest with you, in F1 in real life, I would love to see like they have a bit more tyre variation for the wet conditions, because it'll leave a bit more unpredictability. But of course, we've got the intermediate tyres, it's fine. Of course, there's no hard intermediates, soft intermediates, they're just intermediates for us. But yeah, it looks like we're in for a very, very interesting race, of course. I was a bit surprised that Jensen got pole position, not doubting his ability, but like I said, the one to watch really, in my opinion, was Wizard. But we've not seen these guys in the wet conditions, and of course, I would have said they would have been running a wet setup. The times didn't exactly look too great, of course, so that does suggest they have got wet setups on, not dry setups, as there's a bit of water coming onto the screen, even on the offboard, so that's interesting to know about that. So obviously do apologise us if the vision does go a little bit blurry for a slight bit. That's actually the game, not us, in any way of the question. But in terms of how this race will go, I think there'll be a lot of chaos. I think there will be a lot of drivers spinning, perhaps, and I think we're in for a very, very fun evening. And in terms of the winner, I'm going to go for Messina. I think he's a cool-headed driver in the Mercedes, and he's put himself on the front row, and he'll know what to do.
Yeah, definitely. Things to watch out for, of course. Getting caught in the spray can make it quite difficult. No DRS means it's going to be a tiny bit harder to overtake, and we've got one of the longest runs towards turn number 1 on the calendar. If Jensen gets a bad start, he could easily find himself getting swamped by the cars behind him, and that, of course, is relevant for everyone else. As Robo just gets himself into position, what can he do from 19th on the grid in the Aston Martin? His teammate in 4th is the lead car from the second tier as well. Lights are starting to come home here at Spain. It's 5 lights underway for the social race. What are the starts like then? It is pretty even between the front two at this moment in time. In fact, Jensen getting a bit of a better run on the second stage of the start, and now Wizard's going to try and get alongside on Messina on the run down into turn 1. Messina's absolutely sent it. There's contact between the two of them. Lars has had to go off the track to take avoided action, but he's managed to get through cleanly. Red Bull off in the background, and I think a Ferrari as well, but that is an absolute disaster for the man who started on pole position, Jensen. He got spun around. I think he's managed to semi-recover the car somehow, which is very impressive indeed, but thankfully Doesn't look like they've got any lasting damage from all of that. Wizard just managing to escape and take advantage as Assassin's trying to go all the way around the outside of Melitos on this first lap of the race. Melitos gets a bit of understeer, ends up shoving the Red Bull wide ever so slightly, trying to see if he's got any damage on his car. No, just for camera angle, deceiving us ever so slightly. A chaotic first half of a lap then. Wizard, though, just about coming through that cleanly to take the lead of this race.
Yeah, I think Messina panicked a little bit going into the corner. Of course, he didn't really get the best of starts. He had Wizard alongside of him, and, you know, just that moment he was kind of a bit poor from the start and everything, and going into the corner, he just decided to brake a bit too late compared to Jensen, who was probably taking that first corner cautiously, while Messina wasn't. And that's obviously caused what has been an unfortunate incident for Jensen. I do hope he hasn't got damage, which he seems to be stabilising in his position, which suggests he hasn't, which is good to see for Jensen. He doesn't deserve damage. He really wants to get himself further up the grid. I wonder if Link's got damage, though, because he is coming in and he is getting a front wing change. So he has obviously got damage, but yeah, a bit poor from Messina there. Probably not what he wants to see. A little bit of a moment where things haven't exactly gone to plan for him, but he stayed himself in second place, so position-wise he's gained things.
Sorry to interrupt, Sam. Virtual safety car. Block has got it wrong. I believe that's on the entry to the pit lane, and that has caused a virtual safety car, really stirring things up in the order. I was about to say about Messina. Can anyone remember the last time Mercedes got it completely wrong on turn 1 in the wet conditions? I can't think of any time that's happened.
No, I don't think anyone can remember when that last happened, of course. I mean, ironically, it could have been even a bit more ironic that a Williams took the lead because of that incident, but of course, didn't really work out, did it, for the Williams in question. You know who I mean, of course, George Russell, who had to move down a couple positions because he tried something outside the box, but it's a blue car that has aided into the lead anyway. Not an Alpine, but yeah, the Mercedes, not really a great start from him. It's quite poor for Jensen, who actually isn't an Alpine, so there's a lot of irony into this one.
An Alpine's not gained this time. It has lost quite a bit, and the field seems to be quite a lot of field spread here. Melitos is a long way off the back of Messina and Wizard all of a sudden.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if he's just backing up the grid or something, just so he doesn't get himself a penalty or something. Of course, because you get a drive-through, or whether there's some sort of glitch. But here we go. We've got underway again. Line Violet has got himself a drive-through penalty. But yeah, Melitos was going very slow. But I wonder if just generally it was more down to the fact that obviously they're all going slower. The gaps were just so extensive compared. But of course, we can also say that he was probably being cautious, not trying to get out of it. But anyway, he's the leader of his train. The two have got away now. So yeah, very interesting start. And there'll probably be a lot more chaos coming into this race, to be honest.
Yeah, Jake's coming in. I believe that's for his second pit stop in this race. So not sure if he's had a bit of fun under the virtual safety car. Line Violet coming in. I might watch. Well, I think it has come in actually and served their drive-through penalty, so they've got rid of that one. Only 18 runners left after Brock retiring after what was a pretty decent qualifying, you've got to admit, on that first lap of the race. And we'll see what the positions are as, Simon out of the race. That is coming out again, I believe, out of turn number 8, and that is another virtual safety car.
Yeah, I think for Wizard, he'll be feeling quite annoyed with that. You know, he needs to get himself some momentum going. He's in the lead of this race and everything. He's kind of been given a lucky golden ticket to be in the lead of this race, of course. But of course, momentum counts, and he hasn't had momentum in that lead. He's just been put in the lead, and you know he's just got to sit there at the moment. And with another VSC, that's probably going to start annoying him a little bit. So obviously, drivers will have to keep their cool under this scenario. And you know, drivers who want to make up things, they can't at the moment, as Assassin comes into the pits. So interested to see why he's coming to the pits, whether it's an early stop or it's a wing change. So he's got damage somewhere. So a lot of people have actually got damage early on in this session, which is rather surprising. So obviously the wet conditions does bring caution, but we are underway again. And once again, Miltos losing a lot of time.
Yeah, definitely. I think that will, like you said, close up quite a bit, but he does seem to be struggling at this moment in time. I do wonder if he picked up some minor front wing damage, and it definitely does on F1 2021 seem to affect you a tiny bit more, as Rudy's trying to go all the way around the outside of Jensen, who's really having some fun in the early stages of this race. Now he's going to send one completely up the inside at turn number 5. Bit of contact between the two of them, and that might give Chazza a chance. Oh, Jensen's lost it on the curb, spins round. Thankfully for him, avoids the wall, but he is really having a tough time of it in the first 3 and a bit laps of this race. We've got the position gains up. Robo Jobo's gained 13 places on the first few laps of this race. Rudy's gained 10. They've somehow managed to pick their way through all the chaos.
Well, yeah, of course, but like, you know, it's just about keeping calm and everything, and being smart through your positions. You're not getting in any battles. You're keeping out of the chaos and everything. And you make up the positions at the moment, and that's what's happened with Robo Jobo. But he's got obviously the Williams of Stro Duzzy behind him, who obviously will be looking like he can overtake Robo Jobo, who obviously didn't have a very good qualifying. Which suggests potentially that we could see the F1R driver overtake here. Here he comes. He's just got in the slipstream. He's had a much better exit there, but he's actually still alongside. So this battle isn't over here. But here he comes. He's gone to the outside, but Robo Jovo just squeezing him out. And no chance for Stro Doozy this time around. But he will try and get the cutback on the Aston Martin here. Coming into turn 4, it would be, but he's just not got the momentum to get past him. So an overtake is coming for that Williams driver, but just not yet.
Yeah, just not yet. I think Robo just had a slight moment coming out of the final corner, and in the end maybe used a bit more VRS to try and maintain that position, because you can see on board from Stroduzi at the moment, he's got a completely full battery, so maybe he needs to use a bit of that, and he might have a chance of pulling off some overtakes. Further back, we've got Tresberger just behind Jensen, who somehow hasn't got any serious damage. Wouldn't surprise me if side pod floor, or maybe a tiny bit of front wing damage as well on that car. And of course, that's other new things. I'm sure you're all aware that there is additional damage models on this game. That just makes it a bit more awkward, and a pit stop will not solve them. You're just gonna have to try and live with that. And up at the front of this race, Bazina's just trying to live with Wizard's pace at the moment. Lars is checking out of this race at the end of lap number 5. We've had 2 VSCs, let's not forget. He's 3.2 seconds ahead as we're seeing faster lap come in again, a 1:26.5 from Melitos. We're not too far away from a dry lap time, to be honest. Probably only about 7, 8, 9 seconds.
Yeah, well, it doesn't seem actually like it's raining too much. Like, I think it's raining still a little bit, but yeah, the track does seem a little bit dry, doesn't it? It doesn't look like the conditions are exactly too much in the wet conditions, and perhaps in the next couple of laps we could be looking at some dry tyres coming on. But of course, this is going to be really about making sure you got the right strategy here at the moment, as Messina does close in a little bit, but it's actually Miltos at the moment that seems the quickest on track. He's actually gained a lot of time to that Mercedes ahead, so watch out for Miltos, and can he close into Messina and challenge him for second place? That's the big question at the moment.
Yeah, it is. You can see we have got a bit of rain on the camera, but it's not like you can, well, a bit of spray on the camera, but it's not like you can see too much rain actually falling down at this moment in time. So again, setup compromises might have played a bit of a part here, and if it does stay intermediate conditions, one stop almost certainly the way you're going to go. These tyres do not wear anywhere near the same rate as you see with dry tyres. You don't see that severe drop off, so the undercut not quite as powerful. And let's not forget, it is technically possible. It's not going to happen. There's no way the intermediates would last that long. But it is actually possible to do a race without any pit stops, as that's now Liam who retires from the race, and that is another car coming victim at turn number 8, and that is our full safety car. Will anyone, depending on what the forecast is and depending on what this rain does, will anyone think about coming in shortly to put the slicks on?
I seriously doubt it under safety car. I think I've had a couple of races where I've experienced it where the track is drying, like it's drying quickly, but under safety car, of course, the cars, they're not actually drying the track up as much.
Someone's going for it. Assassin's coming and put on a set of the hard tyres, and I think Nick's coming in as well. Those hards could get themselves to the end of the race, but heating them up is going to be a nightmare, especially at the slow speeds they're driving behind the safety car.
Intrigued to see that though, because if you look at some of these cars and everything, I think the best one you've got to look at is just someone who's behind someone. There's still a lot of spray coming from the tyres, so it's a very interesting gamble there from the Red Bull. He's obviously gambling that it will be dry enough come the end of this safety car. The safety car looks like it will be out for a couple of laps in this case, because I would have thought anyway they would actually probably rethink about just pitting again and everything onto the Inters. So interesting there, and on the hard tyres as well. If you just look on the onboard, Plassassin's really struggling to keep the car in a straight line, literally when he's going relatively slow through the corners. So this is, in my opinion, it's way too early for hard tyres. I understand the gamble, but because the cars, they're not running at full speeds, the track is drying up much slower than what it would at full speed. So they'll have to wait at least a couple more laps for the track to fully dry. So if I was Plassassin, Luke and Line Violet, I would consider just coming back in and just catching back up to the field. And Wizard comes in. So this is a humongous sacrifice from him. He's coming for hard tyres under safety car conditions. This is a huge sacrifice, because if this goes all wrong, that's his race loss, basically. Because we've already seen how treacherous it is to drive on these hard tyres. So interesting from the race leader there, taking a huge gamble.
Yeah, someone trying something different as well is Stroduzzi. He's gone for a set of the medium tyres, suggesting that he's going for a two-stop. That might serve him well, as I think he's actually the first driver to not have an absolute massive tank slapper coming out of the pits on a set of the slick tyres, but it's still quite wet at this moment in time. A lot could depend on how long does the safety car actually stay out on circuit. It won't come in this lap. It might come in at the end of the next lap, but I don't think it's still going to be quite dry enough for a set of the dry tyres. It's just, can those on the intermediates gain enough before we do inevitably get to that dry point, as Bobo is all over the back of Wizard. That's just a sign of how wet it is at this moment in time. Even at these slow speeds, there's not a lot Wizard can do to really go much faster.
Oh, it's really not. He's taking it around very cautiously. You look into the corner, you can see how much he's still turning at such a low speed as well. He's still got to turn the car a lot, and you know, to catch up to the back of these guys. Look at the understeer. He's going well wide. It's way too early to be putting on the hard tyres, and this is going to cost him so dearly. This is the guy who's meant to be the leader of the race before he pitted and everything. So this is a real big experiment for him, and obviously, I guess as a social race, it's something for him to use as a potential chance, as he almost loses the car as well. So yeah, it was way too early for hard tyres. I'm not sure why, like, over half the grid have chose this. And, you know, for Messina, Chazza, and Robo Jobo particularly, this is a big opportunity now for these three to shine up ahead on the Inters. But then again, I say that, you know, if the track dries up in about 3 or 4 laps, there is a potential chance Wizard could actually just keep his lead just about.
Yeah, definitely, and we'll see how Stroduzzi's doing. Him and Bruno, the only two cars on a set of the medium tyres, going for something a bit softer, knowing that they might have to come into the pits again for a set of soft tyres at the end. But in these conditions, they'll be heating up a lot better. But even he is having massive moments. Another Williams struggling quite a bit with oversteer. Ironically, they're steering a bit like they're on a boat at this moment in time. Conditions aren't quite that bad out on circuit. You are much better off in a car, but yeah, really struggling to just keep the car together at this moment in time. Messina and Chazza, though, the two leaders, still staying on their sets of the intermediate tyres, and you can still see there's quite a lot of spray coming off of the circuit, and that's normally a given sign that if the spray coming off, it's still intermediate tyre conditions.
Yeah, he's just trying to warm up his tyres, and when he's warming up his tyres, it looks like he's driving the car so cautiously to not spin. This is really not the time for dry tyres. I'm not sure what the decision was for most of the grid, but, you know, as they say and everything, once something's a trend, everyone follows it, and that's exactly what's happened. The trend is a bunch of guys have thought that obviously it's time for the hard or medium tyres, of course, in some cases, and others have thought, no, we'll just have to wait still a little longer, and that being only 4 drivers. So these 4 drivers have actually got a big opportunity, I think, in this race. And looking at it again, the people who've just pitted as well at the back of the grid, they've gone on to fresh tyres, fresh dry tyres, and Cohen's coming into the pits as well in P8 to what I presume onto hard or medium tyres. So for some reason it's being preferred, but you look on board with some of these guys, they are really struggling for grip. And I believe there is still spray coming off the tyres of the car, so this is a bit of a bizarre one for me. I'm not entirely sure what the strategy is at the moment.
No, Jensen's coming into the pits, sliding all over the place. I did see him drop a position not too long ago, so I wonder if he's had a slight moment and damaged his front wing. Is he coming onto he's coming back onto a set of intermediate tyres, so this throws everything out the window. Who knows what the best strategy is at this moment in time? Answers on a postcard, please, ladies and gentlemen. But Jensen, who started this race in the lead, is now all the way down in 15th place on that set of intermediate tyres. We're still under the safety car conditions. 4th lap we've been on them after the crash of Liam coming out of turn number 8. His teammate is down in last place at the moment. I'm not sure whether the game will wait for him to catch up or whether it will just decide to go at the end of this lap. But this is going to be very interesting, and to be honest, compared to last time around, there's a lot less spray coming off the back of that safety car from the camera angle of Messina. This might just be nearly at the crossover point. A safety car is coming in this lap, and that one extra lap could save all the slick tyre runners.
Yeah, and I'm watching Lion Violet, because obviously he's doing what he can to get back up. I'm also looking at VER Jake as well. They seem to be a lot quicker this lap, so this strategy sort of thing, it's been absolutely bizarre. It literally looked like a lap ago that the tyres, they were not going to heat up at all. They were not going to be good enough to be competitive. Now they look like they are probably the best tyres to be on. So this is very weird. This is very strange. But I still wonder, because obviously the brakes are still going to be cold for these guys. I reckon the tyre conditions are still quite cold. And, you know, I think we will see a couple of cautious laps taken from the drivers. So we'll get underway and let's exactly see how this all plays out then, shall we?
Yeah, Messina wasn't too cautious coming out the final corner, almost completely swapped round on him, and Jensen's got ahead of Jake as well, so the intermediates not looking too bad at the moment. And there we go, Robo's absolutely sent it into turn 1 on Wizard, somehow gets the car stopped in time, and I think is he just going to lose that place again? Wizard manages to hold on, but yeah, Robo had a lot better braking there than the Williams driver, although with every single corner, I think it's going to get worse and worse for these on the intermediate tyres, and they've got to think about when can they come into the pits. Of course, if the intermediates stay good for another lap or two, as now Meltos gets ahead of Robo, if they could maybe do another lap on these intermediates, could we see them go onto a set of mediums and then maybe in a better position at the end of the race?
Most possibly, and, you know, interestingly now, it does look like somehow the dry tyres are almost immediately gone from the worst tyres to be on to the best. So this is very strange. And look at Stro Dozy getting past Robo Jobo. So it obviously is now the dry conditions, it looks like, in this race, particularly for Robo Jobo, who's absolutely struggling. Wizard's already now getting up to the back to BHR Chazza. So much more confidence and grip through the corners now. These intermediate drivers have to pit this lap, but I'm just baffled there, because I wasn't expecting it to go. I wasn't expecting it to go so quickly, you know, because obviously the slow pace of the drivers, under the safety car, of course, the track wasn't going to dry up as quick, but I guess I was wrong. At the end of this safety car, we're under dry conditions, and Wizard leads from Miltos. And watch Miltos into this corner. He may have a go here on the Williams driver. He looks to the outside, and he's just going to slot in behind. No real dangerous attack, but for both Williams, this is a brilliant strategy going on here.
Yeah, definitely first and third at this moment in time as Passassin manages to get ahead of Rudy. He was the first one to come in, of course, as he has a massive tank slapper there, as Violet sets the fastest lap of the race. So I think that says a lot about how this race is going. Jensen's in to the pits once more. He has had an absolute nightmare race here. Rudy loses another position. Bruno trying to get ahead of Luke and Nick. He's got the inside line for turn 5, and he will make that stick this time around on those medium tyres. Back towards the leaders, though. It is Wizard holding off from Meltos. Stroduzzi in third place. He's got to try and get rid of both of these cars, as there is a yellow flag, and that is Robo Jobo, who's gone off but doesn't look to have any major damage on his car.
Yeah, it looks like he's obviously just spun out there, so I think that's just getting up to temperature or something. But I think all these guys at the back now, they will struggle, I think, to keep up, catch up to the guys. It'll be a long race ahead for them. The only option is now really a safety car to recover everything, of course, but they will try and everything. They will try and get back on top of it. I wonder when DRS will be activated. I wonder if it's this lap, as there goes Stroduzzi setting the fastest lap. Just tell us if DRS is enabled this lap, or is it next lap? I'm not entirely sure. Oh, there we go. There's the sign. DRS enabled. So this is when things will start to get a bit spicy now. I'm sure Miltos looks like he's got a bit of pace to perhaps keep up with Wizards at the front, and of course Strodoozy on the medium tires. He'll be much stronger than these hard tires right now, and he'd want to use these tires to the best effect they can. So for him to use that in the best effect he can, he has to get past these two.
Yeah, one of those being his teammate only for tonight, so not really probably going to see too much team orders or anything like that, or perhaps even team communication in a race like this. Cohen all over the back of Berger at this moment in time. Bruno not so far behind. These drivers all trying to use their medium tyres, as well as Miltos closing up to the back of Wizard. Not able to do it into turn 10. Bruno might have a chance though here on Cohen. He's got the inside, he's on the outside, sorry. Cohen on the inside line. Oh, there's contact between them there. Just, I think, getting caught out by the earlier braking of Berger up ahead on those hard tyres. Cohen nearly went into the back of the Ferrari. Bruno did go into the back of the Red Bull, and judging by that understeer, we can't really see from that camera angle, he has definitely got, I imagine, at least some minor front wing damage. That was quite a big hit between those two, as here comes Miltos for the lead of this race, down the inside of Wizard, straight forward on the DRS. He takes the lead.
Yeah, and of course Wizard's obviously going to be under pressure now for Strodoozy. He's really going to be wanting to keep up with these guys ahead. It's still rain coming on the lens camera. I don't know if that's just a glitch from the game, of course, because it's definitely dry conditions, no spray or anything. So probably just a visual effect glitch or something from the game, unless it is raining like a tiny bit, but not to any effect, of course. Who knows? But at the moment, Miltos leads the way, and he's actually cleared Wizard quite well here in this race. I wonder if Wizard's put on a wet setup and not realised, or not taken, you know, the chance to think that the rain will end so early. And Miltos has obviously probably got a dry setup, and he's absolutely flying on it. But Strodoozy at the moment, he's now close into the back of Wizard, and this could be a concerning problem for him if Miltos doesn't get out the DRS.
Yeah, definitely. These next couple of laps are going to be crucial for Strodoozy. He's got to get a move done on his teammate, and then got to try and get within a second of Miltos, get that move done, and just see what he can do. I can't see him taking these mediums to the end of the race. Oh, he has a massive moment there, coming through the penultimate corner, coming through turn 15. That's going to compromise his run. Miltos is flying at the moment. He's 1.4 seconds ahead of Wizard. Miltos is in F2. Wizard is in F1. Let's not forget that. He's absolutely running away with this race. All of a sudden, at the front of it, Rudy's closing up to the back of Berger. I don't think he's going to be close enough to have a go into turn number 1. This battle for 6th, 7th and 8th place, as Rudy's now actually got ahead of Cohen as well. So things are definitely starting to change. Jensen setting the fastest lap of this race, showing the pace that we know he's got, but just an absolute nightmare with that spin at the start, getting caught out with the strategy. Definitely he'll be thinking what might have been, and he'll be glad this is only a social race.
Yeah, I think some of these drivers could have been, of course, Simon as well, like, you know, not a very good qualifying, of course, a mistake in qualifying. And in the race early on, O'Brock, of course, went first. And I think even drivers for Robo Jobo and those who have gone on the medium tyres now, of course, but started on the, who were on the intermediates, of course, but then got screwed over because the track dried up. What it could have been for them, like, in terms of their race. And yeah, it's just unfortunate, really, those things happen. Of course, but yeah, at the moment at the front, it doesn't look like there's really too much action going on, because Wizard is just not able to close to Miltos out in front, and neither does Strodoozy at the moment. He's down in P2, and he's not even going to get DRS himself, so all these guys seeming to struggle at the moment to keep with each other, and this battle for 6th place is even starting to open up for itself.
Yeah, Strodoozy again coming through turn 15, hit the curb quite aggressively, and that's what's causing him to have massive oversteer moments. Can't get on the throttle early enough, and in that lap around was even outside of DRS range of Wizard. You wouldn't expect the mediums to be a worse tyre just yet. Maybe in the next 4 or 5 laps you might start seeing the advantage switch over from the mediums to the hard tyres, but unfortunately for him, he's not been able to do a lot about it, and no one at the moment looks like they're able to do anything about Miltos. 1.8 seconds ahead. He's just got to try and keep his head down, and he can get an absolutely fantastic victory. Let's not forget, under the VSC periods, he was dropping back a bit. He was really struggling in those first few laps when the track was wet. Maybe, like you said, he's gone for a more plain dry setup, hoping that the rain wouldn't last that long.
Yeah, and obviously it seems to be paying off at the moment for him in the Aston Martin. He's absolutely flying in this race. Cohen is just trying to keep at the back of Rudy, who's trying to keep at the back of Berger as well. He is keeping ahead. I have to call him that because I just can't pronounce it with an I correctly. Berger, something like that. I'm not too sure. And Rudy's just struggling to keep within that DRS of Berger at the moment. So that Ferrari is absolutely flying away from the McLaren, and you know that will give opportunities for the medium tyre driver of Cohen behind. It will give him a good opportunity to potentially strike on that McLaren, and also Doozy has potentially, or Wizard could have had a potentially big sort of problem through one of the corners, because Doozy is now right behind him.
Yeah, I wonder if Wizard's just got it wrong coming into the braking zones, maybe gone a bit deep, maybe hit that bump into turn 1 and that's thrown the car ever so slightly. You can see which drivers have got penalties there. Berger, Nick, Messina, Shaza and Robo all on 3 seconds at this moment in time, but with the field being fairly spaced out, can't imagine that's actually going to cost any of them too many places. Berger stands to lose 2 places at the moment. He's probably going to find that the most costly, so he'll be hoping he can drop some of those cars. And the 2 Williams battling for 2nd and 3rd at this moment in time. Miltos nearly 3 seconds ahead now. Just needs to keep it calm, you'd imagine, and just make sure to keep those tyres in good condition. He should have a fantastic chance of claiming the victory in this social race. As again, Doozy too heavy with that right foot coming out of the final corner, and what was a half a second gap, all of a sudden is 8/10 of a second. Now it's floating with the DRS, but he's not going to get close enough, and Possassin, he's not too far off making this a freeway battle for that 2nd place.
Yeah, and of course, if Wizards holds up Doozy as well, it only opens the door for the Red Bull driver to close in on them even more. And he's actually flying right now, isn't he? He's right up behind these guys pretty much now at this point. He's just gained about 2 attempts really in the last couple of corners. He's really closing in, and he could be a threat to both these Williams drivers. And because they're holding each other up, it's just going to close that Red Bull in even more. So maybe some tactics need to be played here, of course. Oh no, Wizards! He's spun into the wall there. So that turn 8 has struck again. He has reset the track, so he's been able to get back there illegally. I'm pretty sure there is actually, I'm pretty sure he'll be penalised that in a proper race, of course. But this is a pre-season race, a social race, doesn't need to worry about it. But that is his momentum completely gone there. I'm not too sure if he's picked up any damage. We'll have to obviously find out in these next couple of corners and see how he is performing. But yeah, that has completely destroyed his plans. And looking how wide he's going and how much understeer he perhaps is getting, it does look like that car may have a bit of damage potentially at the rear end.
Yeah, certainly. I wouldn't be surprised if the floor's got a bit of damage, although you'd expect that to cause maybe a bit more understeer rather than anything. But here we go. Berger's right behind him. Wizard goes right early on. Almost in vain, really. I think he knew there was not a lot he could do about that. Berger's just going to sweep straight past, take that position. Further back, Nick's trying to go all the way around the outside on Moody. That was way too late on the brakes. Braking on that curb, unfortunately, cost him quite a bit there. He has going to lose a bit of momentum, and that might give Jake a bit of a chance to attack if he could get that tiny bit closer. As oh, Wizard slowing down again. I think just trying to get out of everyone's way here and not be that much of a hassle. It's really gone from what was looking fantastic in the first couple of laps of this race. It has been a bit of a nightmare for Wizard. He is dropping down the order, and any chance of a respectable finish, I think, unfortunately for him, trying to get into that top 10 has gone out of the window. So it is now Miltos in the lead of this race, 4 seconds back to Doozy. Can he make those mediums last towards the end? Because if he pits now, he'd be dropping behind Jensen and have to go into another set of mediums. He'll pit, if he is going to pit, I imagine it'll be next, what, 5 laps and then softs to the end?
They'd have to go 24 laps on the mediums, which in my opinion, I don't think we're going to see that. 24 laps on the mediums, this is going to be very interesting, but his tyres are going to be dead towards the end. And they're in fact looking like they're dying now, because Possassin has already been closing in on the medium tyre driver, and Cohen doesn't exactly look like he's gaining on anyone. In fact, he's probably going to be coming under threat from Rudy behind as well, just not this time around. But Possassin, Rudy are both getting very quick, and there we go. Wizard decides to retire in the pit, so obviously there was some sort of damage picked up for him, so very unfortunate, of course. It's gone from what could have potentially been a real dominant race to what has been rather a disaster, let's be real.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think he would have needed a bit of a magician to fix that car for him at this moment in time, as Luke and Nick and Rudy are having a fantastic battle all the way at turn 4. this started. It looks like Nick might now, no, not quite got the advantage here. He's going to be able to go all the way around the outside at turn number 9. Has to give off, but he's got the DRS. Rudy hasn't. Which way is Rudy going to go to try and defend it? Goes aggressively to the inside line. We've got the Alpha Tauri there trying to go all the way around the outside, and you've got Messina and Jake battling in the background as well. All sorts of things happening here in the midfield. Luca just gets pushed slightly wide, and look at that. From gaining 1 position, looks like he's lost 2 places. Oh, Jake's round in the Ferrari, and such a shame for Nick. He's gone into the back of him, didn't ghost in time. He's got front wing damage. He'll have to box his lap.
Yeah, I think there's just a luck of the rears there for the Ferrari on the hard tyres as well. It's not exactly an easy car to drive on the hard tyres, of course. So for Jake, he spun there. Not really his fault. Just obviously that just unfortunate sort of mistake he made there. But for Nick, Luke and Nick, he's unfortunately had to come and pit again. He's got front wing damage. I'm not too sure if Jake picked up any damage, perhaps on the diffuser. I'm not too sure, but that's all that momentum gone for those two. And I think Messina now has got past Rudy. So for Messina, it does look like he is fairly quick and he is on it at the moment. But near the front, it's still Stroduzzi trying to defend from Assassin, but Miltos is absolutely flying, isn't he? No one's going to be near him come the end of this race.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if he puts a few performances like this on in the F2 division, which is going to be on the same day and same time as F1, he might find himself getting bumped up to that higher tier, because this is an absolutely phenomenal pace that he's setting right at this moment in time. We'll see if Assassin can have a go on this lap. He's got about 25% more ERS than the Williams, and he's got the DRS, and he's got the slipstream. Very shortly, he's going to have second place to go along with all those lovely goodies. Down the inside, takes the racing line before the braking point. Easily done. That is Assassin up into second place. Now he'll see if he can do anything to chase after the leader, but unless Miltos makes a mistake or gets a penalty, he's looking odds on to take this victory.
Yeah, Miltos looks very much clear, and even if Assassin closes in on him like a little bit, he's got a lot of closing in to do in 11 laps. And Stroduzzi, of course, he didn't even defend from Assassin. It's like he knows that he was just vulnerable and was going to get overtaken anyway. He's going to try and keep behind for how long he can, but it does look like that he may have to pit again, because those medium tyres, they are not favourable over the hards anymore. So that does suggest that they're slowly now going from that Williams car. So expect a pit stop, maybe not this lap, because he does have DRS at the moment, although I could be completely contradicting myself, as there's still a couple of corners to determine that. But obviously, as long as he's got DRS, I don't think he's going to pit. So this time around, it's going to be very close. It's a poor exit, though. He hasn't got DRS, and I think that's now any chance of an attack from Stroduzzi to take that second place completely over now.
Yeah, Assassin, DRS assisted fastest lap of the race, 1:16.9. Not that he will care one bit at this moment in time. Messina on the back of Cohen, then this battle for 6th and 7th. Messina trying to work his way up through the field after getting it slightly wrong earlier on, and of course having that incident into turn 1 on the back of Jensen. He's just trying to recover now. He's up into 6th place. And talking of Jensen, he's got himself up into the top 10 on that set of the medium tyres ahead of Jake. He'll be imagine he'll be looking to take those towards the end of this race now, shouldn't need to pit once more. Stroduzzi then in that 3rd place. He's got Link starting to close in. The longer he goes, as he's now got himself a 3-second time penalty, the more he backs himself into a corner of, I'm going to have to take these tyres towards the end. Would he be better off just pitting now and having a bit of fun on the softs towards the end of this race?
I think a lot of drivers are considering it, because at the end of the day, these medium tyres, they're not going to the end now. There's no way they're going to the end. And soft tyres should be able to make 10 laps, particularly if obviously they're new, fresh soft tyres. And perhaps just through Doozy, it could be a good opportunity for him to see how his race craft goes in terms of trying to overtake him. He doesn't come in this lap, so he stays out for another. So perhaps he's trying this one-stop strategy as Messina goes round. So Messina perhaps over-pushing the car a little bit. He has been making some good overtakes overall. I wonder if Messina is going to be the one to potentially pit now and just have a little bit of fun. Nope, he's going to have a little bit more fun out on track currently, where he knows he can still make positions from Jake ahead. But that's all his momentum lost. And for Stroduzzi, perhaps we could be seeing a move to the soft tyres coming to see how he can overtake cars with that advantage.
Yeah, Messina trying to go round the outside into turn number 1. That gave him the inside for 2, but Jake was able to hold on that position, but the Ferraris had to go wide ever so slightly, and this might be a chance for Mazzina. You can just see his front wing alongside there, giving enough room. Has to stick behind for now, so these two battling over 10th position. Mazzina having that incident look sort of on his own, maybe just a bit too heavy on the throttle, maybe just putting too much heat into the tyres through that final sector of the circuit. Miltos, he's just enjoying himself at this moment in time. He's having a really good time as now Mazzina does get ahead of Jake. I think Jake's made a mistake, and in fact Jake is out of this race. Now if that causes a safety car, that might mix things up entirely once more. We'll have to wait and see if that's going to happen. His car is stranded in the middle of the circuit, but apparently that's A-OK from the stewards at this moment in time. So Jake out of this race, and at least for Miltos, he'll be relieved that there's no safety car from that.
I'm pretty sure all the front runners would have been like Assassin as well, because if there was a safety car, Assassin wouldn't have been able to get in quick enough. Miltos obviously most certainly wouldn't have. So very fortunate from them there, and I'm kind of surprised myself. And you know, I would have loved to see a safety car really, because it really would have made things very interesting towards the end of this race. So it's quite unfortunate there's no safety car, but for Miltos, of course, it's a big sigh of relief for him, of course, because he would have had Assassin right on him, and in fact on the soft tyres as well, they would have all gone to. It would have been a completely different race.
Yeah, another yellow flag down. That is Robo Jobo, who's lost it. He's having quite a hard time of things all of a sudden. He was doing fantastically well in the wet conditions. Seems to have struggled a bit more in the dry conditions. He is a lap down, of course, so Will goes. Will not hold up these guys in terms of dirty air or anything, but can just provide a bit of a visual distraction. So it is still recommended that they try and get out of the way quite quickly, and everyone seems to be spacing out at the moment. We've got no one within DRS range as our race leader comes on to lap number 26. What could be interesting towards the end of this race is he doesn't need to, but can Lynx get onto the back of Stroduzzi and take that third position out on track? He's got the same age tyres. He is on the hard compound though compared to the medium, so they will now be better. And he's got 8 laps to close up that 2.5 second gap.
Yeah, well, he's driven quite a good race, hasn't he, Lynx? He's not really been near anyone either in the second half of the race. He's rather been on his own. Since we've been on the hard tyres or the medium tyres, of course, and for Stroduzzi, of course, the medium tyres, they look like they're almost finished now, because he is not closing to that Red Bull. He's losing time to it, and of course we saw how easy it really was in the end for Assassin to close in a couple of laps ago. So theoretically, those medium tyres are just going to get worse, and those hard tyres are still just going to remain in the same sort of condition. So for Lynx, I do expect him to close in, but that all depends on whether Lynx wants to close in really at the moment, because he seems to be struggling to kind of close into that Williams, but that Williams does continue to lose time.
Yeah, it's starting to lose time at this moment, so we'll have to wait and see. Here is Assassin. He did gain a bit, actually, setting the fastest lap of the race at one point, but the fastest lap is now on Luke and Nick on those medium tyres. As there is another yellow flag, I think that's just Robo Jobo getting out of the way of all these cars, so that's one battle to watch out for. Stroduzzi and Lynx. Rudy hasn't seemed to have the pace of Cohen, but he is now on the better tyres. He is on the hards. He's just dropped outside that 1 second. We'll wait and see if he does get back in without that, and he's got Chazza not too far behind him, another driver who's had a quiet race, and Jensen, he's had anything but a quiet race.
Yeah. I feel bad for Jensen. Takes a pole position. It was actually a good lap time as well from him, and in the race, just unfortunate on the first lap. And then again, obviously he spun, of course, on his own a few laps later. And other than that, he's really had quite a quiet race, and he may have an opportunity to close into Chazza towards the end of this race, but I'm not too sure because his mediums are obviously dying. But Chazza's looking to close in on Rudy. Of course, Rudy's on very old tyres compared to the Haas driver, but I'm not too sure whether those hards will age enough really to make too much of a comparison. But Chazza is closing in quite considerably quickly, so it's all about waiting now for the next overtakes, and it's all about seeing whether Stroduzzi will actually pit or whether he will try and make it to the end, because I have no clue what those medium tyres are on in terms of their condition.
I think he's pretty much committed himself now to trying to make this towards the end of the race. If you were going to go for a set of soft tyres, you'd give yourself at least 7 or 8 laps to try and use the best out of them, not 5. If he comes in at the end of this one. Here comes Chazza with the DRS. He has got a 3-second penalty, as we will get those up once again. All got 3 seconds apart from Luke and Nick and Robo Jobo, who are on 6, and Cohen now joins them on 6 seconds. So this is a thing for Chazza. If he, at this moment in time, he would lose a place to Jensen, but gain one and Cohen. If he gets ahead of Rudy and maybe puts a bit of space between them, could get himself ahead of Jensen and maybe ahead of Rudy as well. So all is not lost for the Haas driver in terms of this position. We'll just follow and maybe see a bit where he's starting to do a bit better now that he has got those better tyres. As a yellow flag once again, and I believe that is line violet coming through turn 1. Hasn't got any severe damage to his car, just perhaps lighting up those 20 lap old rears. Yeah,
obviously it looks like people are starting to struggle with tyre wear a little bit now. Perhaps that could have been a sign of it. And of course, just doozy on the obviously on the mediums as well compared to the hards. They'll be in much worse condition, and he does look like he's struggling a little bit on those medium tyres now. But the hard tyre driver of Lynx isn't exactly closing again to him. He's got under 2 seconds, but it's not an insanely big sort of closing on that Williams driver. And again, it looks like he is committing right to the end now to try and get these to the end, as we do see Chazza go for a simple move on Rudy. There's no chance for Rudy really to keep him behind. And Chazza at the moment, he's looking to close in on Cohen ahead, and you know, believably on those on those hard tyres, he should be much stronger than Cohen on the mediums.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how this all pans out. And I think Jensen as well, he's going to be trying to work his way up the order, almost damage limitation. He is quite low on the ERS at this moment in time. You can see him there just getting back above that 10% point, and as soon as he drops below that, uses a bit of overtake, the red light starts flashing on the back of the car. Race leader, though, just been in a world of his own ever since he got ahead of Wizard earlier on in this race. 4 and a bit laps to go. 5.7 seconds is his lead. The F2 driver, let's not forget, he is an F2 driver. Passassin is an F1 reserve. Stroduzzi and Lynx are both F2 drivers, and I believe the Ferrari is as well. So they're short of showing up their more, well, it's supposedly faster rivals.
Yeah, well, obviously the F2 drivers may prefer this track, of course. We don't want to, but I don't want to really turn around and say their performances aren't well deserved. As here comes Chazza, nice easy move on Cohen. Not really much going on from it. I don't think Rudy's going to get past on this lap, but Cohen on those medium tyres, he's seriously going to be in a struggle. He's going to struggle to keep Rudy behind, and even Jensen as well, as he was very quick through these last couple of corners. So there's a lot really going on in the midfield, but at the front everything seems rather quiet. But these F2 drivers and everything, they've come into this one tonight. They've faced a couple of F1 guys. Of course, some of them didn't make it in the end of the race, like O'Brock, Wizard, and Simon, for example. They have seemed to be quite good opposition compared to the F1 drivers.
Oh.
As there goes Stroduzzi. How's he done that? I don't know whether he's got a puncher or whether he's just binned it in the wall there. If it is a puncher, then this could be fairly interesting towards the end of the race, because obviously there is no one who's going to surely come into the pits this late, particularly Cohen, who's going to be battling himself for position. But he is the one on the nearest sort of tyres, but I wonder if Stroduzzi's tyres have decided to run out of steam all of a sudden.
Yeah, he was a long way off into that barrier coming out of turn 10, as if the car sort of snapped on him quite late through that section, and then he's tried to save the car, and as you see so often with these Pirelli tyres, you just end up losing the rear end, and there's not a lot you can do to try and bring it back together. We're on board with Jensen. You can see Rudy, he's going to get the move done on Cohen. Can Jensen make it 2 cars getting past the Red Bull in 1 corner? Indeed he does. He's up into 7th place. That was a very late lunge by the Alpine car, but he just about managed to get it stopped in time. Jensen is up into 7th. Now can he get ahead of Rudy? That'll get him up to 6th, which will become 5th place after penalties.
Yeah, he's on a mission, isn't he, Jensen, at the moment. He knows how close he can get to a top 5 position. I don't think he can really get to a top 4 position at the moment, but mind you, he is closing up, and he looks rather very quick on these medium tyres, especially compared to Cohen, of course, behind, and of course Stroduzzi, of course, was struggling on them as well. So he seems to have a lot of pace in those medium tyres compared to the hards, and perhaps has really done well with the strategy, and is just feeling it right now on the medium tyres. So for Jensen, it's a brilliant opportunity here. He is relatively close to Rudy as well. Perhaps we're going to be seeing an overtake for 6th place, and Rudy doesn't exactly seem slow behind Chazza. He continues to try and close in on him. This could be rather interesting towards the end.
Yeah, here we go. Penultimate lap of the race for these drivers. Rudy's, well, not sure which way he wants to go earlier on, and Jensen's like, doesn't matter, I'm coming past. No matter which way you decide to try and defend. Jensen then up into that 6th position, gets that position done. We've seen Luke and Nick and Robojobo come in for a set of soft tyres, just trying to get that glory run at the end of this race. The big question is now, will the mediums last on Jensen, Massina? I imagine they will. On Cohen and Bruno, it's maybe a bit more indecisive about whether that's going to happen. And we're watching so much midfield battling because at the front of this race, Miltos has just been so far ahead. 5.6 seconds now, the gap back to Passassin. He himself, 7.4 ahead of Lynx, who is 8 seconds ahead of Berger. You don't normally see this too much in league racing, but I reckon if Miltos did have to pit for whatever reason, he'd probably still come out ahead of the Ferrari.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, he's that clear ahead. He's almost guaranteed himself a podium, and he's still going faster on those hard tyres. So I really don't think he would have pitted anyway. Because he's set the fastest lap time now, and that looks like it's going to be the case, unless one of the soft runners gets it, of course. But he's on his final lap now, and he's had an absolutely dominant performance in this race. And, you know, obviously what happened to Wizard was very unfortunate, but he didn't exactly look like he was threatened by that Williams. So a big statement from him early on in the season, particularly if he wants to go for a championship in that F2 tier. And, you know, this is a big battle in the background between Jensen, Chazza and Berger. It's just a shame that the two in front of Jensen, they have penalties, so Jensen all he needs to do is just keep it on the island, basically.
Yeah, and Berger's starting to really drop back into the clutches of Chazza and Jensen, so that might be something to watch out for in the not too distant future. But here comes Miltos round into the final sector. He has driven absolutely superbly. Struggled a bit on that wet start of the race, but as soon as it dried out, he has been untouchable. Got ahead of Wizard, gained that gap within about a second as Chazza's really onto the back of Berger here, but I don't think he's going to have to do anything into turn 10. Around the final corner, IFRA Miltos is going to take a dominant victory in this social race. Miltos takes the victory then for the Aston Martin team. You've got Passassin, he's going to come home in 2nd place. Lynx will be in 3rd. Who, though, is going to cross the line in 4th place as Luke and Nick sets the fastest lap. Cohen and Massina have been battling quite hard as well. It looks like Berger's going to take the 4th position out on track. That will, though, of course, go to Jensen in the Alpine. A great recovery. What could have been in this race? Massina and Cohen almost side by side through the final corner there. Massina ends up getting that on penalties as the wheel tether causes some fantastic physics on our screen there. In the end, it was Jensen 4th, Rudy 5th, Berger 6th, Chazza 7th, Massina 8th, Cohen in 9th. Line Violet, bit of a quiet race for him. Made a few mistakes earlier on, meant he couldn't catch up to the safety car, and since then it's been damage limitation. He's going to be in 10th. Bruno 11th, and then Luke and Nick and Robojobo, the final finishers. And an Aston Martin in last place, and an Aston Martin quite comfortably in 1st. Anyone in this 2nd tier is going to be a bit worried by that performance from Miltos.
Almost certainly. I think this has really sent out a message to those F2 drivers who didn't opt to race tonight about Miltos' pace. He looks very strong, very comfortable in the lead in that Aston Martin, of course, as well. So big things to play for. He's in the Aston Martin in F2, so obviously big luck, good luck for him, obviously, in that season, of course. And there's a lot of F2 guys in here as well that look like they could be good contenders for that championship, but no one as dominant as this man, Miltos, in front. He has absolutely blown the grid away, and particularly compared to anyone in F2 like him, no one's been really close to being compared to him.
Yeah, and of course, being in that 2nd tier, he is allowed to run line. We haven't really spoke about the assists, but for the 3rd tier, none of which their drivers were here tonight, they're allowed all assists. 2nd tier is line only. 1st tier is no assist whatsoever. So if Miltos does want to make a move up, he's going to have to turn that line off. But even with that, still a fantastic performance. 5.6 seconds ahead of Passassin, the F1 reserve, coming home in 2nd place. Lynx rounds off the podium. Jensen, 3 pit stops, taken out of the race, was down near the back. Fantastic job to come home in 4th. Rudy kept it clean to secure 5th place. Berger was 6th. Chazza 7th. Massina, despite all the chaos he was involved in as well, still manages to come home in 8th place. Cohen and Line Violet round out the top 10. Bruno was 11th. Luke and Nick set the fastest lap in 12th. Robojobo was 13th. Stroduzzi So unlucky. Was it a puncture? Was it a mistake? We'll never know. He is classified as 14th, and those that did not finish the race, Jake, Wizard, Lamo, Simon and Brock.
What this has shown, really, in my opinion, is that the F1 side of things. So F2, we kind of know where some people are, like Lynx, for example, and Miltos. But from the F1 side, a lot of them didn't finish, or they didn't exactly show a performance you would expect of them being in the top flight. So I wonder if, obviously, a lot of drivers who did retire and everything, they look promising. But the likes of Shizu Simon, for example, he barely got a performance in qualifying. I think he only done one run. In the race, he was done after like 2 laps or something. So there was a lot of people spinning and everything, and I do think really we're still hidden from the potential sort of things from all the drivers. But a great performance from some of the F2 guys tonight, and they know where they're at. They're at the front of the grid, but I think there's still a lot to play for, and there's no real obvious driver in F1, in my opinion, that looks entirely good at the moment.
No, there were ones who had different pace. Obviously, at different points, we saw Wizard looking fantastically at the start, seemed to drop back ever so slightly. Jensen, I'd say pace-wise, he's probably the one who looked the most impressive. Qualified on that pole position, managed to come home in 4th place, even though he did get that takeout into turn 1. If it wasn't for the strategy mistake of going onto a set of hard tyres, then intermediates, then back to the mediums, it wouldn't surprise me if we'd have seen him challenging for the win. So maybe outside the names, obviously, who haven't been here tonight, your CRG Gamer, your Mudder Stroll, those sort of drivers, I'd say Jensen could be one to watch out for this season, starting, of course, next week in Bahrain.
Yeah, he is definitely a driver to watch out for and everything. A very quick driver that people probably don't know too much about, but he's a very quick driver. And, I think he is a driver that really could have standed out tonight if it weren't for, obviously, what happened to him on lap 1. So, yeah, very unfortunate for Jensen from all of them, really. So, obviously, the pole sitter got himself a really good start as well away. But it's just what could have been, really, for him. But it is a pre-season race. It is a social race at the end of the day. Obviously, no points at play. So, in terms of where he's in the championship, it makes no difference. What does make a difference is next week when we head to Bahrain.
Yeah, that is what they'll all be getting ready for, the first proper race of the season. Make sure that you don't miss that one. It should be absolutely fantastic. But if you want a bit more WOR action, thankfully for you guys, you don't have to wait until next week. There is, of course, the PC League, which started a bit earlier on while we were waiting for the patch on the console games, just to make things ever so slightly more stable. So on Sunday, it is going to be the Chinese Grand Prix, round number 3 of that championship. I believe it was Ruben Vallejo who took the victory at the last round. A fantastic performance. Well, he took the victory, I believe, in one of the races. We've seen some very quick drivers. Alvaro Caraton's put in some good performances as well. Who will take the victory at China? That is 7 p.m. on the Sunday, with George Morgan and Ginger Andy taking you through that performance. Top tier on the Xbox also starts this week as well. That is going to be a Monday at 8 p.m. And that will be Gareth and Bradley taking you through the action of that Wardrobe Beacon. As you might also know, the lower tiers also taking place. PST3 on the Monday, Xbox lower tiers on a Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. Myself and Sam will be back 8 p.m. next Friday for the first proper race of Season 11 on the PlayStation. Which driver will get the perfect 25 points to start the season? Thank you so much to all the drivers for joining tonight. Thanks for Sam for joining me in the commentary box. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in a week's time. Good night.